Hey everybody, welcome back to the Purpose Department podcast. So excited to have you guys back today. And we have a great guest on today. And Dad, you want to introduce her?
I would love to introduce her. But first off, bro, you look good. Love the haircut.
Thank you.
Look like an older guy now. You're making me feel old.
It's okay.
I know.
I mean, you are old.
You always call me old, in some way. But hey, so glad to have you guys joining us. Remember, once again, like, comment, subscribe. We really love being able to bring these episodes to you today. And just like Jaden said, we've got a special guest. Her name is Madison Smith, and so glad to have her on with us today. As you're going to see, she's got such a great personality, brings a lot of life and encouragement and love. And so wanted to bring her on to the show so that we can kind of dive in, have some really great ideas and some conversation. And so Madison, so glad. Thanks for coming here and joining us. It's raining outside.
I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah.
I've already met one friend that I was unexpected. I mean, this has already been a blessing. So
I know. It's a great day. And it was so funny. I mean, we planned this out for you to come, and all of a sudden I'm like, yeah, just meet me outside over here by the Starbucks. And the next you know, it's raining today. One of the few times that we get this rain.
Southern California.
No, yes. Our rain, whenever it rains, people start freaking out. And I'm like, this is not rain. This is a light sprinkle of magic dust.
It is. But hey, it was perfect timing. I took the car out of the garage because I was like, I don't know where the umbrella is.
Right in front of each other, basically.
There you go.
Yeah. So I was like, this is the best service you ever get for being on a podcast for anyone. Yeah. So I'll take it.
Cool. Okay, but before we start, I have a question.
Okay.
Ask everybody a question.
Let's hear it.
And everybody else knows my questions are fun. So,
all right, I love this.
You do music and all of that, and it's fun. So, who is one artist, current or old, live or dead, that you would want to duet with?
Ooh.
Like live, or like make an album with, like do something like that.
Okay.
Be anyone.
My mind goes to two different people for two different reasons.
Okay.
And I feel like they're a combination of who I am as an artist in a way, and that would be Stephanie Gretzinger. From Bethel, and Lauren Daigle. I would love to do something with Stephanie Gretzinger because I learned what worship was from her. I grew up in a Southern Baptist church, 40 people in small town Georgia, and I had never seen someone have a Davidic worship before until I was in college, and it was Stephanie Gretzinger. And I remember for a few days, every single person I saw, I would be like, have you seen what worship can look like? Yeah. And I would pull up YouTube and find them, Stephanie Gretzinger, and I'd be like, look at this. So I think so much of what I know worship to be now, as far as a heart posture, came from Stephanie. So that would be, I guess, number one. And then Lauren Daigle just has a good time. Yeah. And I like that. So give me all the color, give me all the glitter, and let's throw a party on stage. So if I could have those two, done.
Perfect.
Dream made.
There we go.
Dude, I like it. And you know what? I can tell, Lauren Daigle's fit choices.
Yes.
Her hat game is strong. And just knowing a little bit about what I know about you, I was like, oh, yeah, I could see you too.
Yeah.
I got a chance to, because I got to do Media Week in New Orleans for the Super Bowl.
Let's go.
Yeah.
So I was part of a crew that got to have this little private concert with Lauren Daigle, and it was so cool. And so she's cool. She's really cool, super down to earth, just chill. And what I loved about her too was the fact that, and you as an artist and a singer and all those different things, you try to live your life in such a way where when you're on stage or if you're off it or on the platform, no platform, lights, no lights, you try to be the same. You want to be authentic and real. And that's what I appreciated about her when she's doing a small little show. Oh man, it was
so good.
So awesome. Cool. So I love that. That's such a great answer. So, all right. So Georgia, what part of Georgia?
I am from a little town called Calhoun, Georgia, which is in the northwest corner of Georgia.
Okay.
Yeah. 45 minutes south of Tennessee.
Oh, wow.
Tennessee. I just feel like my country accent comes out when I say Tennessee.
That's fine. You're allowed to do that. We lived in Indiana for a little while. I have no country accent. My wife grew up in Arkansas or Arkansas. Yeah, but she doesn't have the country accent. But her mom definitely has it.
Nope, she has it. It's fun. Very fun.
Jaden could probably pull off a country accent because he's got many talents
for a little while. Then it gets a bit tiring.
It gets a bit tiring.
So good. So, all right. So Georgia. And now what brought you then here from pretty much from East Coast all the way to the West Coast here in Cali?
California.
Yeah, quite
instant
the difference,
change,
huh?
right? Yeah.
Yeah, in 2000, I think it was 2019, I felt like the Lord just put California on my heart, which I thought was so random because that was never something on my list of, oh, I'm going to live here, or I'm going to do this. And all of a sudden it was California kind of burning on me. And so I prayed. I was like, God, I pray for a car. I pray for a job. I pray for a place to stay, like a home. And everything I prayed for, he provided in like 4 months. And so I was like, okay, I actually don't really know if this is the Lord, but I think it is. So faith looks like taking a step even when you don't know. So I bought a one-way ticket. I knew one person out here.
Wow.
And I left my family. I left my job. I left everything. And this year will be 6 years, which is literally so crazy. I'm like, how is it 6 years?
6 years.
Seem
You have
right.
you have like faith. And then you got crazy faith.
Cray faith, yeah.
And then you have insane faith all the way up here.
Radical faith.
Yeah.
Okay, so then, so you came in 2019?
You came like a year before that.
We were middle 17.
Yeah, 2 years before that.
Yeah, so we were in northern Indiana.
Oh my gosh.
And then came all the way to San Diego in 2017 on the same exact thing because we felt called to.
Yeah, that was the weirdest transition.
Oh my gosh. I've been
going
to
from
Indiana once.
suburbs,
Wow.
like, no, not suburbs. I mean, like
country.
country to like big city. Like you get to walk everywhere. You don't really drive that much.
Yeah.
Like crazy change.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys know what FFA is.
Yeah, Future Farmers
Farmers of America.
America.
And I did that for a little bit in high school.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
no.
we did, guys, I have so many interesting facts. So we did FFA and we did a conference up in Indiana. And I remember thinking, I have never seen so much corn in my life. And then we even got to go on like a combine. Is that what they're called?
Yeah.
A combine. We
Yeah.
got to like get on one of those. And I was like, this is the country life right here.
Yeah.
Even more so than where I'm from.
Yeah.
Was it like that part from Napoleon Dynamite where they do like the egg like in the glasses and whatever when you have like raw egg sandwiches? You remember that? Oh my gosh.
A little bit.
So
I was just gonna
funny.
say I just remember so we had fields all around our home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had the combines.
The pollen.
This kid, when he was younger, had the chance to. We were driving down our side farm street combine. They're unloading all the corn grains and stuff like that into the trucks, and they were doing spraying the fields with a helicopter.
Oh.
And so
That was fun.
we parked behind this one truck. This helicopter landed on this bed of a truck right next to a
That's so
combine.
cool.
And we
Yeah.
get out. Jaden gets to get in the helicopter and do
I
all
was
the different things.
what, 5?
Probably 6 or
Wait,
because you left when you were 7.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. So
so
I don't
so
remember.
we've seen
I
it.
don't remember it very much, but yeah.
So we've experienced all of it. I mean, Tornado Alley. We've done it all.
Oh
So,
yeah,
my gosh.
that was
but
fun.
Yeah.
so all right. So 2019, you feel God calling you, asking you to take a step of faith, right? Coming here to California. I would imagine, not even imagine, I would guarantee that it hasn't been anything. It hasn't been easy.
Yeah.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
I know.
See, and those are laughs of like, oh, there's a lot of story underneath
Yeah.
those laughs, but the laughter is what helps kind of recenter
Get
you,
through it.
gets you through it. Yeah, I get it. So, I mean, tell us a little bit about. All right, so you've been here 6 years. You prayed for. You only knew one person.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how has everything been going now? Like how?
Yeah. It's been quite the journey for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I think the first 3 years I was here, I truly didn't know if I heard God right.
Okay.
I was like, oh my gosh, like I actually don't know. Did I just mess up my entire life? Like, I don't even know if I'm supposed to be here. Where am I supposed to be? Like, it was kind of this like interesting moment of truly walking by faith and not by sight. And I'm one of those people where I like want to hear God so clearly sometimes before I make a move. So kind of feeling that tension was really different for me and really growing for me too. It was stretching. But the first 3 years, I think the best way to put it is I felt like a horse, like a wild horse in a corral. Like, those round corral pins. And I'm just like running and nothing's happening. Nothing's coming to pass. I don't feel like God is telling me I'm supposed to be in California, but I also don't feel like I'm supposed to leave. So I'm like in this holding pattern. And that is kind of my first 3 years. And then year 4, things started to shift. And I started like music things started happening and different opportunities and just kind of meeting so many people who are in the Christian community out here. And then not last year, but the year before, everything I've dreamt of since I was a little girl started coming to pass. And all of those connections came from California. Okay. So it really took some time to see the fruit of the obedience and a lot of wondering what was going on. But I'm so glad I did it because, now I know it was the Lord. It just truly was a test of faith, honestly, for a while.
Okay.
Also kind of crazy.
That's a long time.
Like, you move here 2019 and then like COVID hits.
Pre-COVID. Literally
COVID hits
pre-COVID.
like right before, you like move here right before COVID and then it's like, you don't get to see it for like a year and a half.
Lockdown, yeah. I didn't lock down personally.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is political.
No, you're good. You're safe. So in essence, while some of us were stuck in home going crazy, Madison was out.
I was out living my life.
She was
there you go.
She was on the 405 taking advantage of clear highways.
90 miles an hour.
Even the popos weren't out.
Oh yeah.
And we don't even call them popos out here, but that's back in the Midwest thing. So it just came out. But so this is, I'm glad you shared that because I was literally thinking, all right, what could we talk about for this time, having you here? And I was thinking, because for us with the purpose department, a lot of life really is rooted in purpose.
Yeah.
And purpose is a lot of the times what keeps us grounded, helps drive us, helps motivate us, helps, kind of recalibrate, center us back for what we need to for who we are as a person. And I was thinking, and for the creative side of it for you too, as an artist and someone who sings and worships and music, I know isn't just something that you do, but it's a part of who you are. Yeah. Like your life is a song.
Yeah.
And so the thing I wanted to talk about a little bit, as an artist, as a worshiper, as someone who has faith, what does it look like to create when you have a lot of things that are just unknown?
Yeah.
It's like writing without like the rest of your life being
in the midst of the
written.
unknown.
Yeah.
I think for me, I would say that's like what brings you into the confidence that God is doing something. Because I think a lot of times the writing process, it is a process, and it's truly like where you get those emotions out or where you get the fear out or where you get the hope out. It's kind of this like working out of the faith in the midst of the unknown. And sometimes I think that creates the most beautiful things because there's a pressing there. And I think sometimes when we're pressed, like the authenticity of who we really are or the state of our heart actually comes out because we're uncomfortable. So all we have is like a raw, honest side of ourselves. So I don't know. I think there's a lot of beauty in the unknown because there's so much possibility where the Lord can come crashing in,
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, if you're talking about being pressed and all those different things, I know that the majority of the time what comes out when you're being pressed isn't always good.
Yeah.
Like
always.
from a human standpoint of oh man, it's this idea of oh wow, that was ugly. Oh wow, that was in here.
Yeah.
And in my reflection of how I view myself, I didn't think that should have came out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't get time to like marinate on it. Like you don't get time to think about what you're going to do.
Yeah. So how do you, what's that process been like for you, especially these 6 years here as you've gone through it? Because being called out here, feeling like, this is where I need to be. Yeah. And then working it out, even though through those first 3 years, how did you stay the course? What kind of kept you focused to keep trusting and to keep creating and to keep stepping out there, even when you didn't have the manuscript or the rest of the lyrics or the song written out, but you know you're in the middle of it.
Yeah. I think for me, and all glory to God, because I think any part of good that we have is truly by his grace anyway. So all glory to him. But I have just seen the fruit of obedience in my life many, many times where I feel like the Lord's asking me to do something, whether that's jump on a plane and go to Africa, or whether it's live in Israel, or whatever it is, or pray for this sick person, or prophesy over this whoever. Like there's so many times where God has called me to do something that may seem uncomfortable or scary, but the reward of that obedience is always so much greater than the risk that it took to step into it.
That's good.
So for me, I mean, he's just proven his goodness. So it's like, even if I'm not 100% confident or there's so many unknowns, I'm going to wait it out until I see the Lord, and I don't want to move ahead of him, and I don't want to be behind him. I want to be right with him. And I think that comes from intimacy. That comes from an intimate relationship with the Lord. But I would rather, I mean, it's like one day in his courts is better than 1,000 elsewhere. Mm-hmm. And I just think I've seen, like, taste and see that the Lord is good. So for me, it was just his goodness and knowing that he will show up when it's time. I mean, he always shows up, but that he will show up and he will prove himself faithful kept me holding on. Like, who cares? I just want to see God. Like, I don't care what it looks like. And at the end of the day, I don't care where I'm at. I don't care what I'm doing. I just want to know, like, that the Lord is pleased and that I'm being faithful to who he's called me to be. And so I think that, like, tethers me to him and tethers me in the midst of the unknown to just be faithful with it. Because the Lord will always be faithful to you in the midst of it.
That's really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you kind of like navigate, because I know like music industry, we've had talks about it on this podcast before, like music industry is crazy.
Yeah.
Just with all the stuff that happens and all the stuff that is happening right now. How do you kind of like deal with like releasing music and then like going through the punches of like, I have to release this here, I have to release this like at this point,
Mm-hmm.
or like, do you just not do that? Do you just release it whenever you feel like, you know, this is the right time? Because you can either have a schedule or you can either just listen to God.
Yeah. So. You know, it's funny you ask that because I'm in the middle of that right now and I'm having to learn that. So I don't have that one figured out.
No. Wait, what?
Literally in the tension of that. I just had a conversation with someone yesterday and I just contemplated my whole life. So I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. No, I don't know yet. It's like, I think there's like this balance of the Lord trusts us. He trusts us. He's given us a heart like his. I mean, when we're following him, when our hearts are set on him. But then you also have like the divine time of the Lord. So for me, I've always struggled with those two things of like, okay, am I supposed to run and go all out as Madison would do? Or God, are you telling me to wait? Are you telling me to go? And then sometimes you can almost get paralyzed because you're too afraid to step out, because what if I miss God's timing? What if it's not the right connection? Or what if? But then there are certain things that have a specific timing. So I think that's where Holy Spirit comes in.
Yeah.
And where just like God doesn't work on a formula. He truly is like, it's not one size fits all. And that's why we have to be in constant communication with him, because at one point it's, hey, I trust you, step out, go, do whatever you think is best because I'm with you. And then the next moment it's like, hey, I need you to wait because I'm actually putting things in order for you before you step out. Yeah. And I am in the tension of that with all of my music stuff. Like, God, do I push it out now, but I don't want to force it? Or God, is there a certain date? Is there a certain release date? Is there a certain time? Is there a certain platform? Is there a certain record label? Like,
you're figuring all that out.
We're figuring it out. And it's honestly challenging. Like, it's really challenging sometimes because we do see in part in some ways. So I am leaning into the Lord. Tomorrow, my day is set to call all of my mentors to have them pray over that exact same thing, because I really do not know what to do.
That's real.
Yeah, it's real.
Yeah.
And you just want to please the Lord so much. Like, I mean, I want to please the Lord with everything I do. And I think sometimes I have this fear or even just this like question mark on, does he trust me? So sometimes I'm afraid to move unless I hear like the audible voice of God or like an angel knocks on your door. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, like we are his children and we're not robots, and he's given us his heart. So he wants us, he trusts us to make decisions, you know?
Yeah.
So I think I'm still kind of learning that myself and what that looks like.
I think that's really vulnerable of you, and I appreciate you. I appreciate you sharing that because, you know, I know we have people who have faith connections who listen and watch.
Yeah.
But then I also know that we've also got because of our connections and the relationship circles, and I know that even you have in your own life, there are people who might not have that faith connection, or might not be grounded or have something that feels firm to stand on. And I think it's really crazy because deep down inside, we're all human. So this is humanity that we're talking about. And asking the right question, like our one of the episodes we just did, we were talking about like, you know, learning how to ask the right questions and how to have the right perspective. And I think it's kind of funny because you were saying, well, what if? And I think in life, when we're asking questions that start with what if, they're always grounded and rooted in fear. Yeah. Or grounded and rooted in what's just not known. Yeah. Even what's not perceived, or or even in what I just don't understand. Yeah. And so the what if is trying to stay connected to something that is solid, that is firm. Yeah. When in reality, you know, if we're living this life of adventure, if we're living this life of taking chances and stepping out in what I would call faith, I'm not asking the what if questions, right? I mean, my insecurities and all the inside things want to ask what if. Yeah. But what's a good question to ask instead of the what if? Like, so I'm one of those. If I'm asking or if I'm saying these certain things and it's negative and it's not where I need to be, or it's not going to lead me to where I need to go, I need to replace it. Yeah. Yeah, that's good. So for those who are listening or for watching, like, and you've had those moments of what if. Yeah, for sure. What are the things that you're replacing it with? Maybe different questions or different statements that are replacing that. Yeah. What is that for you?
What is that for me? Yeah. I think, I don't know. I'd have to like kind of marinate on that, kind of sit on that. Like, what other question? I think like what I think for me, it's more, I've just seen the Lord do so much, and so much of it has been super like X, Y, like on the dot, the Lord shows up. So I think for me, I have to like kind of expand my way of thinking of, yes, there are moments where it is so set up, and it can also be so set up even in the midst of us partnering with the Lord versus just like being obedient to what he says, if that makes sense. So yeah, I don't know. That's a great question. I'll have to sit on like, what would my question be?
Yeah. Either a question or like that statement, right? So instead of the what if, you know, then would it be, okay, now what? Or like, or, you know, I mean, what do you think of that, Jay?
I don't know. Whenever I start getting like the what ifs, I kind of stop myself before I start going into the what ifs, because I know if I go into the what ifs, I go down a rabbit hole. And I'm like, I will not stop until I have my answer. Yeah. And going into what ifs, you're never going to find an answer, because there's always going to be something, if you think hard enough, there's always going to be something to contradict what you're going to do.
That's good.
So I feel like for myself, I definitely do not try to go into what ifs, but I do it all the time. Yeah. And like whenever I do, I stop myself and I kind of just ask myself when or like how. Yeah. Instead of like, what if this happened? What if I went into this? I'm just gonna start asking myself when. Yeah. Or how.
That's good.
Or that's like, really good.
Just what.
Yeah, that's good.
And when you're in those moments, right, too, I think this is just as we're talking about it, I almost kind of have this different perspective too. So when you're in those what ifs and you're in that uncertain time, it can be crushing. There can be a lot of pressing that happens from it. And so rather than being the victim or having a sense of like, woe is me, to where you're putting yourself in a state to be crushed.
Yeah.
To have everything kind of just come crashing down around you. I think one of the greatest perspectives or flips to make, pivots to make, is to, instead of being crushed and being like, oh man, it's how do I embrace it? You know, coming in with more like arms wide open.
Yeah.
Okay, what is it that I can carry?
Yeah.
Or it's, hey, this is a crazy moment. It's definitely there's a lot of uncertainty right now. I'm not sure, but
yeah.
If I can come in with hands open like this, palms lifted open, like, hey, I can find joy in this moment.
Yeah, for
you
sure.
know?
For sure.
So, because I think of this. So you come here.
Yeah.
You only knew one person. What has it been like developing new relationships? Like, you don't have to say names, but like, tell us a unique story of like, my wife calls them like God hugs.
Yeah, God
where
hugs.
God like sends somebody, or you start making connections and start building the right relationships to where it's like, wow, I couldn't even have picked this for me. Like, what has that been like for you?
Yeah, it's been really sweet, actually. I think that is one thing the Lord has blessed me with tremendously, is just community. I just celebrated a birthday this past weekend.
What? Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Thank
Dang.
you very much.
Oh, we should sing happy birthday. No, okay. Yeah, we won't do that.
Yeah, and even like I had a little worship night at my house on Saturday night, and I didn't even post it on my Instagram until like the afternoon before, and I think we had like 17 people show up, like just Saturday
party.
night.
Nice.
Yeah.
Love
You
it.
know, and I was so just like overwhelmed in the best way of just the kindness of people, or who would just like drop everything to come. And of course there were so many who couldn't come, but it's just been really sweet, the community God has brought around me here in California. And something I've learned there are so many people in Southern California who are on fire for God.
Oh my goodness.
On fire for the Lord. And so thankfully most of those people that I know are all my friends. Which I'm very grateful for. God has surrounded me not only with like peers, but he has brought mentors into my life, and just beautiful spiritual parents into my life to love me and hold me and walk with me. It's funny, one example is when I was in college, my friends, have you guys ever went on a treasure hunt before?
Oh yeah.
Oh yes.
Yes, where it's like, okay, Holy Spirit, like show me a picture and then I'm gonna go out and find this person and pray for them, right? Is that the kind of treasure hunts you guys do?
I've done that once before.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's like, that ain't the kind that
She's like, I was just thinking Goonies, where it was like I had a map and no, I'm kidding.
That's
no,
funny.
no, yeah, you're good. You're
That's
good.
funny.
You're good.
I love Holy Spirit up in here.
Yeah, no, same. Yeah.
So in college, again, Southern Baptist background. And my friends, they all are like more, I don't even like using the word Pentecostal or charismatic. I'm not like a huge fan of that, but let's just say it for the lack of a term, charismatic and Pentecostal.
They're full of life and
Full of life and vibrancy and zeal.
Okay.
And so, they would do these things called treasure hunts. And they would talk about how, we're going to go out, we're going to pray for all these people and all this stuff. And lo and behold, I moved to California and there's a book called The Treasure Hunt. And I think that's where a lot of my friends got this like kind of revelation
The idea from.
It's from Kevin Dedman. The book that I'm specifically talking about.
Okay.
And so I come to California and end up like the author of that book, Kevin Dedman, kind of becomes like one of my spiritual dads out here in California. And I'm like, how funny is that here I am in college. I have no like recognition of what is even happening. And I'm like, this is cool. This is fun. Never experienced anything like this before. And then fast forward, the guy who all of my friends got a lot of just like teaching from ends up becoming like one of my spiritual mentors out here in California, him and his wife. And so it's just kind of funny how things like that work out. And I mean, truly the Lord has connected me with some of the most amazing people out here. Yeah. Even all my music connections, like my vocal coach, for instance, like she's like a previous like vocal coach for Beyonce, like goes on tour with Beyonce. Like,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, she's one of the best like in the world. Shout out, Kim. And even like my vocal coach who is in Nashville, and then also my producer who has produced for Stephanie Gretzinger, like co-wrote Forever with Carrie Job, like really awesome guy, Gabriel Wilson is his name, who is also in Tennessee. that's kind of part of my team. But I had all of those connections out here in California who then reconnected me out to the East Coast. And it's like, how does that even happen? I was in the East Coast. Like, I was literally 4 hours from them.
Right. And now you're further away, but now you're even more connected in some ways.
Yes, but it was the doors out here in California that God divinely opened for me. Yeah. That made everything possible, which is so cool.
Only because you said yes.
Yeah, because I said yes, and because he's faithful.
Yeah.
You know, he's just so good like that. Even when I've learned, like, even when I'm not faithful or I'm not a good steward or I mess up or I drop the ball, which I do and have so many times, it's like he still shows up and he's still faithful. And so it's like, I think when you see that over and over again, when you give God the chance to prove himself, however that may be, I'm not saying drop balls on purpose, but when you live enough with the Lord, you may mess up, you know, mm-hmm. like you may mess up, and to see him come through every time, even in the midst of your weakness, it's like, that is the kind of gospel that I will lay my life down for. Mm-hmm. Like, that's the kind of love that I will say yes to and like give him my full yes, a forever yes for all of my days, because I know that it's him and his goodness that has held me even in the midst of my failures, you know?
Yeah. I love you saying that, because it's not even when it's, if I mess up, it's when.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
there's the ifs again. Like,
yeah.
If word.
Yeah. But it's when, and when I do mess up, I'm able to then, when I recognize it, or I'm able to take a step back or push pause or whatever it might be, I can then see, oh wow, I had a lot more of my ties. I was grabbing onto a lot more of me, or a lot more of these things, when in reality God was like, I need you to do this, or this is where I want you to be. And so it's that internal struggle, that internal growth, the tension of life, you know. And so I love you. I love you saying that. It's so good to hear that.
Yeah.
So
that's really good. So you talked about like doing like treasure hunts and stuff.
Yeah.
Are you connected with circuit riders in any way?
I've been to circuit riders a lot. Lindy and I are kind of like, we would know each other.
What do you think of circuit riders?
What do I think of circuit riders?
Is it crazy?
I think circuit riders is great.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Do you go to circuit riders?
I love circuit riders.
Let's go.
That's my family.
They just had Upper Room there last night. Monday night.
I did not go on Monday night, so
I didn't even know the Upper Room was going to be there, and I couldn't have gone if I wanted to. But if I could have, I would have been there, because I love Upper Room.
Yeah, we've got some good connections with CR. Yeah, CR peeps. Jaden's been to a couple of the rider camps and stuff like that. Hawaii. Yeah. Except this year, now it's going to be in LA, which not really LA, because it's actually Fullerton. But you'll be going to that. He just got accepted for this coming summer. So
come on.
Yeah.
Whenever you were talking about like doing like treasure hunts and just
like,
kind of like,
I knew it.
I
knew that's what you were thinking.
I was like, I've done that before, and it's definitely really weird. Like, maybe I just didn't notice it in Indiana, or maybe it just didn't happen in Indiana, but there's definitely a lot of people that are like super, super on fire for God
my gosh,
here. Yeah. And whenever I go to circuit riders, it's like I'm surrounded by...
You're like, I'm not alone.
It's like, it's literally like a melting pot of faith. Yes. Like, you step into that room, you step into that circle, or you just go and talk to someone from there, you're like, what the heck? It's like everybody there is like super, super just spiritually mature, and it's absolutely insane. And it's also for my generation, I get to see like people my age on fire for God in a way that I've only seen in like certain videos, or I've only seen in like a few other things, but it's like I get to connect with people that are my age, that are on fire for God.
Yeah.
And I just get to see that kind of grow, and that's really special. That's really fun.
That's
I really
enjoy
special. That. Yeah.
I think following the Lord, like when we're not meant to do it alone. And I know, how old are you?
14.
You're 14. Oh my
gosh,
you're such a baby. When I was in college, like even having that community around me who was all on fire, that like changed my life.
Yeah.
Because when you're surrounded by like-minded people who will sharpen you and edify you and pick you up when you're down or even correct you when you're wrong, like all in the Lord. That is what it's about. Like that's the secret sauce of really running. You know, it's easier to run when you have people running on each side of you. You know, so that's so cool that you have that.
That's really good.
At 14. I wish I had that at 14. That would have been amazing.
It's definitely,
Praise God.
yeah, keeps me up. Like it's good. It's good to have. I feel like it's really important if you want to step out in faith. It's good to just do it.
Yeah.
And like, but it has to be God. Like, But it's good to step out in faith, but you also have to have some people along with the ride. Along,
of course.
Like, jeez. Like you have to have some people with you.
Yeah.
Because you can't just do it on your own. I like that. Like what you said. You can never do it on your own or else you're always gonna fall.
Mm. Yeah. 2 is better than 1.
Mm-hmm. 2 or more are gathered.
Yeah.
Lord is there.
Mm-hmm. No, that's good. And you gotta have somebody there, but then it also, in order to have people there,
you are alone.
Yeah. You are alone. And there have been times, even with the best cheerleading and the best support,
you're still gonna
and
fall.
the best shoulders that I could stand on, there still has to be ownership.
Yeah.
Where you have to take responsibility and say, like, it's great to have a cheer squad. It's great to have all that and support section. But if you can't own it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It has to be your faith.
Yeah.
It's like even like you being 14 and your parents are on fire for the Lord. It's like their faith cannot be your faith. Like at some point it has to become yours. You know?
That's also kind of crazy because it's kind of like growing up a pastor's kid. Mm-hmm. It's like I always saw my parents super on fire for God. I didn't really understand that, like that kind of like faith until like 2 years ago, I guess. Like I didn't really understand it because I feel like you have to define. I like that. You have to define what your faith is. Yeah. Like you can't just go off of what your parents have. Like you can't just go off of you can't go off of like what you see other people have. You have to define it for yourself. Yeah. And if you don't define it for yourself, then it's not authentic. Yeah. And it's just not you.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, and it's this idea of you know, we're all responsible for ourselves, in essence, like you know, there can be times and seasons and moments where I can rely on your faith a little bit or what God is doing in your life to, okay, that's cool. Helping me keep the right perspective. But eventually I've got to continue to do things on my own to help feed myself, to help allow God to pour back into me so that I'm not being depleted. I'm not operating on empty or operating in a negative mindset or whatever, but it's got to be something that I'm allowing myself to be filled back up or to be challenged and changed. So I think that's good. What would you say, Madison, for if someone who's listening, watching or whatever, right, they may be feeling stuck. You know, they may be feeling stuck or maybe even afraid, or they want to step out creatively. They want to write, you know, music, or they just want to step out and maybe feel called and they want to step out, but yet they're stuck or afraid because they just don't feel like everything's mapped out yet, or or it's not laid out for them to see. You know, what would you say to encourage that person? You know,
I say just do it afraid. I don't know if that's Nike who quotes that. I don't know. But I love that and say it a lot. Like, just do it afraid. I think if you're always waiting for things to be perfect before you start, you may never start, because that's just kind of part of life in a lot of ways. But if you're stuck, I mean, I think the number one piece of advice I could say is you have to get in your quiet time with the Lord. Like, he is the creator. Like, he is the creator of all creator. He is the creative of all. He created creativity, you know? So if you aren't spending time with him, if you're not communing with him, if you're not in your word or worshiping or just talking with him, like, how can you expect to create? Or create things that actually, you know, move the heart of God, because those are two different things. Like, let's write a country song right now. I love country music, but it's like, let's write a country song right now. We can make one in 10 minutes. But when I'm writing with the Lord and with the Lord in mind, like that's something that actually is going to potentially move his heart. And country can do that too, but that's like another, it's just like that's another topic. I wanted to be a country singer for so long. And I had like this encounter with the Lord in college, and the Lord told me I was going to be a Christian singer. And like, he literally like radically changed everything about my heart in a moment. So
at that moment, whenever he's like, no, you're not going to be a country singer, you're a Christian singer. Was that like a gut punch where you're like, oh, come on? What? Or was it kind of like,
that's a great question.
Let's go. Like,
yeah, I think it was like such a radical moment where it was like there was a grace for it. I think if I would have just thought that for myself, maybe I would have been a little bummed at the point. But I was like, 16 and not as like, you know, probably pure before the Lord, you know. But I think there was just a grace on the moment, and I knew that it was the Lord. So I was like, okay, like if this is what you're calling me to do, like, yes, I'll do it. Wow. And then I went to a country concert 2 weeks later, and every ounce of desire I had for that was gone. Like I had wanted that my whole life. My whole life. Just gone. And it was just gone in a second. And that's when I was like, okay, this has to be God, because this is
just like your dog, you know, gone. Yeah.
Is the dog okay?
No, it was a bad country reference. Like I lost my dog. Sorry.
Oh no. Sorry.
No, we have a great dog. We love our dog. Sorry, that's where my mind went, guys. That's just
It's true though.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there was a grace there. And it's so cool now, because I think even when I made the choice to go in like full-time ministry, if you will, even my family were like, I don't know about that. Like, I just, like, my family.
Like, are you completely sure?
Yeah. My family loves the Lord, like, loves the Lord. But I think, you know, like, my dad's like a businessman, like, successful, all these things. And I think he just wanted me to also like be successful and like never have to worry about money or things like that. And so when I was like, I'm gonna be in full-time ministry, I think that was like a punch, you know, because country is obviously very lucrative. But you know, it took some time, and I think now, like that was literally my sophomore junior year of college. Now looking back, it's like where the Lord has taken me has been so much more fulfilling than the life that I could have chosen in that moment or was like living towards in that moment.
Yeah.
And I'm like, like I would just randomly think about it sometimes, and I'm like, thank you, God. Like he actually knew the desires of my heart before the world like kind of tainted it. You know what I mean? And I just couldn't imagine doing anything else. And like, I know what it feels like to sing country songs in like a cute outfit and like to like perform and all these things. Like I know what that is, and I enjoy it, and I'm good at it, praise God. But nothing compares to the feeling of leading people into the worship, like into the throne room of God. Nothing.
The presence of
into God. The presence of God. Like absolutely nothing compares to that. Like it is more fulfilling than anything I could have ever imagined. And so I'm like, thank God for his grace, and that he knew so much more than I did, like what would actually bring me to life, you know?
Yeah.
He's just good like that.
I think when you operate your life in faith, and you know where your boldness comes from, or you know where your security comes from, it's then easier to live your life in that grace. So you kept saying grace, and when I think of that word and what it means, right, there's a freedom to it. And so not even, you know, for those of us who walk in faith, you know, we're covered because of God's grace, which means, you know, we're not bound by our own mistakes, our own failures, our past or whatever. But I look at it as, right, when we live our lives now with the grace, it's like we've got space. And this idea of space, especially as a creative, especially as someone who is walking out their life in faith and just taking it day by day, one step at a time, one relationship at a time. It's amazing what happens in the space that is given. You know, and that's part of when you feel like you're squeezed and you're crushed. when you're operating in grace and you're living in grace, and not just in it but with it, you've got room to breathe.
Yeah.
Even if things are uncertain, even if you don't have an idea, but you're able to walk freely because you know you've got the space for it. You've got the freedom to be you, to make the mistakes, to fail a little bit, so that you can grow into a better person or into a new person or in your giftings and all that stuff. So I love that, Madison. I appreciate your heart for coming in and sharing a little bit. And I was like, I don't even, because I've only known you just for a little bit. And so, but it was so cool to run into you and to see you and just to kind of see what God's doing in your life. And I know I saw on your socials, I was like, wait, are you at K-Wave? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I know the guys at K-Wave. So it was such a small world, and to see what doors and opportunities that God's giving you to make that step, to say yes or not. So cool. So I appreciate you for coming in and sharing your journey a little bit.
This was really fun.
Yeah. I feel like we could keep going.
Yeah. We'll have to have you back on for sure.
Part 2.
Yeah, we can do some. We can talk a little bit more.
A lot of part 2s coming up. Awesome.
Yeah. So now, so just tell our peeps and stuff like that. I guess where can we find, like, where can we follow? Where can we, are you on iTunes, Spotify? Like what?
Yeah.
I know you said you got some projects you're working on, so like, tell us a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not on any platforms at the moment because my first single has not dropped, but we are working on that. So hopefully it should be this year. Lord, please.
Sidelines.
It's coming.
Lord,
It's coming.
Yeah. Sidelines.
I know. I saw it and I'm like, ooh, that sounds like a fun song.
It's a fun song.
Yeah.
It's really cool. There's like just even a testimony behind that song and the Lord's faithfulness. But yeah, Sidelines will be the first single, so it'll be dropping soon. But in the meantime, you can find me on social media, on Instagram, and it's just Maddie Ray Sunshine, MaddieRay Sunshine. That is me.
I love it.
Go.
I love it. Awesome.
This was a fun episode.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming.
Awesome.
I loved it.
Cool. Thank you, everybody, for watching The Purpose Department, and we will be signing off. Have a great day. God bless.
Bye.